Hello everyone, this is Father Michal at St. Rita in Dallas. Today is Tuesday in the octave of Easter. And so, happy Easter. Christ is risen. He is truly risen. And he comes to us alive to share his life with us. That is why the Church invites us to see ourselves in Mary Magdalene. In these first days after the resurrection, the Church presents to us many readings that speak about Mary Magdalene. And so we are invited to see ourselves in her, so that we too may experience Christ's resurrection. These 50 days after the Sunday of the resurrection until the Pentecost Sunday are celebrated in joy and exaltation as one day. St. Athanasius says it is like one great Sunday. And these first days, in the days of the octave, form the early hours of that Sunday. And it is in these early hours that we meet Mary Magdalene. She was the first one at the tomb. She was the first one who has seen the Lord. It was also St. Mark who says in his Gospel that when Christ rose early on the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, from whom he had cast out 7 demons. And so also today's liturgy shows us Mary at the tomb. This is the Gospel according to St. John. We see Mary weeping because she's looking for the Lord and she cannot find him. Now this is a word of God for all of us. Because Mary Magdalene in this Gospel, she's you and me. We can find ourselves in her. Mary is an image of a soul overwhelmed with the love of God. And so when we experience that love of God, when we have a desire for God in our lives, we are like Mary Magdalene, very much like Mary Magdalene. And also then it is fulfilled in us what the Song of Songs says, and what we can see also in this Gospel. Upon my bed by night, I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. I called him, but he gave no answer. I will rise now and go about the city, in the streets and in the squares. I will seek him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. This is the experience of Mary Magdalene. This may be also our experience if we truly want to love God. That desire that makes us look for him in the experiences of our life every day, in what is happening to us, we are looking for him whom we love. We want to see his face. And so I think this is an important thing to realize, that every authentic experience, religious experience, every authentic experience of faith is grounded in the Scripture. And so we can see ourselves in the Scripture. Just as Mary Magdalene, her experience at the tomb was like the experience of that bride in the Song of Songs. In her love, Mary Magdalene looks for the body of Jesus. And our experience in these days is similar, because many of us are longing for the communion with his body, in the sacrament of his body, but also we are longing for the communion with one another. We are longing for that moment we'll be gathered as one body, as one community. So we are longing for communion and we are longing for community. And so we too desire to see the Lord in this way. And in this longing, we are very much like Mary Magdalene. And we may be also consoled by this Gospel, because we see when Mary looks for the Lord, when she comes to the tomb, it is also the Lord who looks for her. And so perhaps we have not realized that the Lord is already with us, that he comes close to us. It is true that he reveals himself through certain signs and words in the Gospels. Mary does not recognize him until he speaks to her, until he calls her by name. And so we need those words and those signs that the Lord gives to us, that we may recognize him. Of course, those sure signs of His presence are the sacraments. But the Lord may reveal Himself also in other ways, because He loves us and He will not abandon us. He is the one who looks for each one of us, especially when we are lost. And He calls us by name, as He has done it with Mary Magdalene. He calls us by name like the lost sheep, because He knows His sheep and He calls them by name. He's the good shepherd, and He will not abandon us in this time. And so this is the experience of Mary. Mary was looking for the body of Jesus. First, she saw some angels, but she didn't even pay attention to the angels. She was so overwhelmed with this desire to find her Lord. The angels said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "Because they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." Saying this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing, but she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom do you seek?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. And so this experience of Mary may be also our experience in this time. The Lord comes to us and He calls each one of us by name. Saint John of the Cross says that if a soul seeks God, if it's true that there is a soul that seeks God, God seeks for that soul even more. So Mary seeks for the Lord in this gospel, and the Lord seeks for her, and He calls her by name, like that good shepherd from the parable of the lost sheep. He calls her by name. He calls each one of us by name. And so the risen Lord comes close to Mary, but she does not recognize Him, but she will be able to recognize Him when He makes Himself known. Because this is the great mystery. Christ's freedom and our freedom. And so the Lord will reveal Himself to us when He wants and in a manner that He wants. But also we need to desire that. We need to be open to that so that we may receive that revelation. Saint Elizabeth of the Trinity writes in one of her letters, she writes this letter to one of her young friends, and she says, "If you knew how good the Lord is, how He is all love," and she says, "I am asking the Lord to reveal Himself to you, to be your friend, whom you always know how to find. Then everything is illuminated, and it is so good to be alive." And she says, "This is not a sermon that I want to give you. It is the overflow from my soul, which brings over into yours, so that together we can lose ourselves in Him who loves us," as St. Paul says, with an exceeding love. And so Saint Elizabeth of the Trinity invites us to learn how to find the Master in the depths of our soul. And we can find Him there always. She says, "I have found heaven on earth because God is heaven and God is in my soul." So we can have that dialogue with the Lord in our soul. That is, I think, the meaning of this word in the Gospel according to St. John, that Mary had to turn around to see Jesus. Mary had to turn inside to see Jesus within her. And so this is an invitation for all of us to find the Lord in this time and to find Him in our soul. It is true that we suffer because we cannot come together, and I hope we will come together soon. But also in these days, somehow the Lord provides for us some special graces. And I think that one of those graces is that intimate dialogue that He wants to have with each one of us through the words of the Scripture, so that we may see the Scripture fulfilled in our life, and just as Mary Magdalene has seen it, that Song of Songs fulfilled in her life when she was looking for the Lord, and so that we also may find the Lord as we meditate on the Scripture, and so that we may find Him in our souls very close to us, and the one who loves us and who wants to reveal Himself to us. And so I invite you in this time not to be discouraged, but to look for the Lord, to learn how to find Him in the depths of your soul. Thank you so much for watching. Again, happy Easter. Bye.